Hey guys, welcome to another episode of TFL's Top 5. And Nathan, what are we doing today, man?
We're doing the top 5 cars, great cars by the way, that you're not buying.
What? Why aren't they buying them?
Well, I mean, okay, they bought a few, but the numbers are really, really sad on many of these cars that we feel are excellent.
Yeah, so these are cars that we've, in a way, fallen in love with. We've tested, we've driven, and for some reason are just flatlining in the marketplace.
Yeah, or if not, they're crashing and burning, and when you hear the numbers, you'll understand. So
number 5, just, I don't get it.
Blows my mind. It is one of my favorite sedans out there. My favorite brother-in-law, bought one recently. It's the Mazda 6.
Yeah, and let me give you the numbers. So to date, Mazda has sold 19,000 of those. Mm-hmm. How many Camrys, which directly compete with the Mazda 6, have Toyota sold?
167,000. Now, that's not to put down Mazda, because they build a great product. It's a great car. It's a car I would own, but it's just not competitive in that segment. I mean, in terms of numbers, not at all.
Yeah, I mean, Fusion, Camry, Accord, right, are the 3 big hitters in that segment. And why do you think the Mazda 6, which I think is the sportiest, I think is the best looking.
Great looking, yeah.
And I think is one of the most fun mid-size family sedans you can buy, isn't selling?
I think it has to do with 2 things. One, they just don't own the market the way the Camry and the Accord do. That they've been ingrained in people's heads, and rightfully so, they're good cars. And the other reason is just Mazda doesn't have the money to really go out there and shove the PR down your throat.
Yeah, Mazda probably has a much smaller PR budget. They also have a much smaller dealer network,
yeah, that's right.
Which is a huge thing, because if you can't get to a Mazda dealership, you can't buy a Mazda 6. But it's a really good car. It does really well when you compare it to the other cars in terms of all the criteria, and yet for some reason it just doesn't sell.
Spectacular car, real shame, but sales are picking up compared to where Mazda was just a couple years ago.
Yeah, they're slowly getting traction. All right, number 4, Nathan.
Number 4 is one that, well, frankly, I'm a little sad about, and that's the Chevy SS. It's a rear drive, big bad V8, cool car to drive that nobody's buying. Year to date, 1,359 cars have been sold. That's a General Motors product, and that's kind of sad.
Yeah, and I think with that car, I don't think it's almost too much of a sleeper, right? It's a rebranded Holden, right, that they brought in from Australia. It's a car that both me and you have taken on the track, and it's basically has a Corvette engine in it.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's a fast car, that's for sure.
It's a fast car. It just doesn't look fast.
And that may be the problem with the car from the get-go, is that it just looks a little too sleepy.
Yeah, they keep trying to change the styling subtly, but it doesn't scream, I'm a badass, I'm gonna kick your and whoop your butt, which it will do. And yet, it's one of those cars that a lot of automotive journalists are gonna own, but no one else, unfortunately. Would you buy one?
I would probably buy one of the manuals, even though I haven't fully sampled one yet.
Yeah.
I would. I mean, it's definitely worth a look.
Let's go to number 3.
Sure. Number 3 is the Jaguar F-Type. Now, before don't freak out, guys. It is selling. It's just when you hear the comparison between its competitor, you'll understand why we say it's not selling very well.
So far, Jaguar has sold 1,726 F-Types. How many Corvettes has Chevy sold?
12,000. 12,000 Corvettes, and those Corvettes compete directly with the F-Type. And Roman and I agree, it's a fantastic car. Although, I gotta say, the Corvette is one of our favorites.
Yeah, the Corvette is certainly more of a bargain.
Yeah.
It does have that V8 rumble.
Yeah.
But the Jaguar has a supercharger. It has some of the best exhaust notes. It's one of those cars that it's not a very big segment, right?
Right.
So another car in that segment that doesn't sell is a Z4.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah.
Right?
I love that car.
Yeah, there's not a lot of cars that do terribly well in that 2-door sports car segment, because there's just not a lot of buyers in that segment. But the F-Type is one of those cars that it's going to be like the E-Type, where 30 years from now, people are going to be kicking themselves saying, I wish I had bought it when I could.
That's one thing I really agree with him on that. I think it's definitely a future collectible. Now, speaking of General Motors, we're going to go to one of their worst selling cars ever.
And you know what? This could be a guilty pleasure on my part, because I really like this car. Everybody else hates it. So if you've got any hate you want to kind of aim it toward me, what's the car, Nathan?
It is the Cadillac ELR.
How many have they sold?
402.
And it kind of it's kind of a rebranded Volt. How many Volts has GM sold?
8,000.
Yeah, so the problem obviously is one to do with price. It's way too expensive.
It's extremely expensive.
But I think it's just absolutely beautiful. I love, and it may be personal, I love the fact that it's got these long doors. I love the sleek lines of the thing. And if it was, a $50,000 car or even a $60,000 car, but GM priced it way above that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if you price it, they will come, and it didn't happen. But the thing is that from what I understand, the ELR is basically a rebadged, reskinned Volt. Am I right?
Yeah, the powertrain. Yeah, but it's got Cadillac bits and parts on it, so the powertrain is the same as a Volt.
Right.
The range isn't that grand, but you know what? It's got a regular engine so that you can, just go to your pump and not have to plug it in if you don't want to. But if you do want to plug it in, you can drive it. The cool thing about the ELR is if you actually want to buy a used one, you can get them.
Now's the time. Because
they
have plenty just sitting there on dealership lots. I mean, they've only sold 402. General Motors is one of the largest automotive manufacturers in the world. So selling 400 of anything just doesn't really make much sense.
Yeah, it's going away, unfortunately.
It is.
It'll be another one of those cars like 30 years from now where people will be trying to collect them, I think. All right, number
one?
Yeah.
Well, this is one that he and I both agree on, and that is the Volkswagen Touareg.
Yeah, it's, right car, wrong brand.
Yep.
I went down the launch of the hybrid, and Volkswagen actually set up an off-road course, and the car is crazy off-road capable. It's basically a Porsche Cayenne, right? Except with more Volkswagen DNA than Porsche DNA, but it's crazy off-road capable. It came in a diesel.
No diesels, at least for now.
Yeah, it's well put together. It's luxurious. It's just the kind of car that should have not been a Volkswagen.
Here's the numbers. So Volkswagen so far has sold 2,000 of the Touaregs this year. The Ford Edge, which kind of sort of competes with it, but anyway, they sold 60,000 of them.
It's a mid-size crossover.
It's a mid-size crossover,
yeah.
The Touareg is so much better.
Yeah, it's got character, it's got personality, it's got off-road prowess. It's actually got good looks in that kind of minimalist Volkswagen way.
Yeah, Bauhaus-ish, and also the interior is fantastic.
Fantastic, and it's expensive for a Volkswagen.
Now we need to throw in a bonus here, and we're giving you a bone. We're throwing you a bone. So,
and this one we know why it doesn't sell.
Yeah, we pretty much know. So it's the Kia K900.
They've sold exactly 377 of them.
Let me repeat that. 377.
It's our least selling car on this list. And how many Lexus GSs have they sold?
It sort of competes against the Lexus GS, and 6,000 of those. The Kia, for those of you who don't know, because apparently none of you really know anything about the car, it's their large rear drive luxury vehicle, which has a really unfortunate name.
Yeah, it's called the K9 in Korea. They added 2 zeros to it here to try to kind of, get it away from the whole K9 thing.
Yeah.
Which didn't work.
Such an unfortunate name.
Once again, right car, wrong brand, right? If Lexus were selling that car, they could add a couple thousand, tens of thousands, and they'd be flying off the shelves.
It should be a Buick. It should be pretty much anything other than a Kia. And I have a feeling with now Genesis having their own brand and their own luxury moniker, these types of cars are going to disappear soon.
Yeah, it's hard to buy a car that's a luxurious, very expensive car next to like a Sportage. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, we had that same argument about Hyundai and having their really nice Genesis and Equus on the same lot next to a Accent. It takes away the sparkle of what that car is. And the K900 is extremely luxurious, and it rides beautifully, and it's got every amenity. And yes, it's going to be sitting right there next to a Kia Soul.
So if you guys have any other suggestions, cars that you think are great cars but no one's buying, please let us know in the comments below. And as always, this is Roman
and Nathan
saying thanks for watching, and check out the Fast Lane Car and the Fast Lane Truck
for news, views, real world reviews, and more top fives.
Yep. See you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Ciao. We got another 20 of these lists to do.
Seriously.
Bye. Welcome to another episode of TFL's Top 5, except today it's more than 5, Nathan.
That's right. It's a super one. It's a top 10.
Top 10, and today's episode is a fun one because I bet you don't know a lot of these cars. And today's episode is top 10 cars that are American but
are not.
That's right, cars that you may think are completely American, built in America.
But they're not.
But they're not. So, do you have any guesses for us? Put them in the comments below before we actually get going. Let's see how smart you are.